सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा
वसुदेवसुतं देवम्
वसुदेवसुतं देवम्
कंसचाणूरमर्दनम्
कंसचाणूरमर्दनम्
देवकी परमानन्दम्
देवकी परमानन्दम्
कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्.
कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु.
This is the 12th श्लोक of 12th chapter. श्रेयो हि ज्ञानम् अभ्यासात्
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानम् अभ्यासात्
ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते
ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते
ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः
ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः
त्यागात् शान्ति अनन्तरम्.
त्यागात् शान्ति अनन्तरम्.
So this shlok is basically the roadmap to the fulfillment. Whatever goes. So look at every word in this shlok is Gyan, Tyag, Dhyan, Karma Phal Tyag, Shanti. Everything is what is the spiritual journey is all about. Very powerful shlok, right? Now we'll do the Pratana, which is Arjun's Pratana and our Pratana too. 7th shlok of 2nd chapter. Karpanya dosho upahat svabhavah
कार्पण्यदोषो उपहत् स्वभावः
पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः
पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेता
यत् श्रेयस्यात् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे
यक्षेयस्यात्रीं निषिञ्चन्ति भूमि तन्मे
शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्.
शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमात्रां प्रपन्नम्.
So Arjuna is saying, Bhagavan, my consciousness, my thinking power is shrinking. So I'm forgetting my swadharma, or what is the best choice, Shreyas. So can you guide me to Shreyas? And I come to you a surrender, Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. Shadi means my buddhi, direct my buddhi towards Shreyas. So I Shishasteham. I your Shish and I Prapannam means I just surrender. Here the word surrender is a very, we have to translate in English, but there is no translation of Prapannam or Pranam. I mean, when we say Pranam is Prapannam is the same root. It is not surrender. It is that in the respect, out of love, out of respect, you bow down to someone. That is actually, that's what our whole pranam parampara is. But in English, we have to translate surrender. It's not surrender. It is just an honor and the love, affection. So that's what Arjuna is saying. So guide me. And that's the whole entire Bhagavad Gita is answer to that prayer, which is our prayer too. And we are getting that answer luckily too, right? Yeah. So we are on 15th chapter, which is called Purushottam Yoga. We'll see at the end why it is Purushottam. But just very briefly, we have been seeing this chapter. Bhagavan is not telling anything new, but as we have already seen many times that Bhagavan is that's why we say Jagat Guru, right? He is the best teacher. Right? This chapter starts with a metaphor, which is very unique. It was there in Upanishad also, some places, but it's the Bhagavan Krishna, the way he brings that metaphor at the time, which is wonderful. So we'll see that's what we saw last time, the inverted tree. We'll revisit that. So he's typically, when we think of sansar and we see, oh, there is a world. I mean, I'm in the world has all these material things. Now Bhagavan is reminding Arjun what sansar, the world you see. And in the beginning also, 7th chapter, Bhagavan has said that whatever you see outside, and 10th chapter, that is also my nature. It's actually originate from me. So I am in everything. apara, which is lower nature, like he says, I am in Ganga, I am in Himalaya. He is not saying one Himalaya means Himalaya. It is all mountains. I am as like in Sur. So Bhagavan is all pervading. That's why we say Antaryami. So Bhagavan says the sansara is also me. But for you, for us, we have like misused the whole thing, or we, due to our ignorance, we are entangled into the sansar, which is Bhagavan Swarup anyways. But we forget that it is Bhagavan Swarup, or myself is Bhagavan Swarup too. So Bhagavan is bringing a very good metaphor in this chapter. In the beginning we saw. First shlok itself, Bhagavan says, Urdhva Moolam Adam Shakha Ashwattham Prahu Avyayam. So he said the sansar is like an inverted tree. And then we can imagine that Bhagavan is telling us to Arjun to imagine, and we can imagine there is a tree, because the root we don't see if tree is on the soil. We don't see. We know there is a root. So Bhagavan said, let me reverse it. And he reversed it. He said that the root is upstairs, up there, Urdhva Moolam. And the whole tree is coming from that root. And that is correct. Bhagavan is the source. He said in many earlier chapters that I am the source of this whole thing. So everything originates from me. So that's why he is giving the inversion method. In fact, I was reading somewhere that Warren Buffett's best friend, he's no more, who was one of his business partner, Charlie Munger, he had used a term, and you can read that on internet, it's there, it's a article, inversion investment strategy. And he says that not every problem should be solved in the forward way. Sometimes you have to solve the problem from the backward way also. So he used to give the example that investing, you find out what is going to not in the good in the market. Don't look for my investment. Just look what is not good and then invest. They're saying reversing them. So Bhagavan is also saying here, right? Look at the tree where root is up. And why? We'll see why he's saying that. Because Bhagavan is saying the goal is to go up. The tree is going down, and sansar is going to take you down, and sansar is expanding, like one branch, another branch, and he gave the example there. And then from branch, the root, he's talking about the banyan tree or people tree. Both are same family. But those trees are huge, and they keep growing. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. You also, and then he gives the example, those leaves are your karma. And the branches get that feed, that is Trigun. He has used the word Trigun. So Rajas, Sattva and Taman, we know that, right? That's all our life. So he said, if you keep getting the feed from Trigun, the tree will keep expanding. So, and then you entangle and you're lost. So hold on. The strategy here is like same Charlie Munger's strategy, reverse the process. So when you reverse the process, that's what we'll see now. So Bhagavan is, and in fact, in mathematics also they use the term. It was used by Gustav Charles Jacob, is a German mathematician. He used to say that he got the inversion concept where Charlie Munger used in investment. He used to say that if you have to do, somebody says, it's a very simple 56% of 50. So when I say solve the problem 56% of 50, I have to do some math, right? 56 or 50. He said reverse it. 50 of 56, 28. That's easy. So he said, when you're solving the mathematics problem, see where it is easy to solve. If sometimes the reverse inversion is better than going forward. Same thing Bhagavan is saying this. So how to solve this sansar problem? Bhagavan has given the inverted tree. And we will see again what he's saying. Wonderful. He's one of the best teachers. But he's saying sansar is, the message he gave in the last shlok, we saw that sansar is, if you don't stop, it will keep expanding. And it is a sansar chakra. We call it chakra. Because it's and then the leaves are there, karma. We do the karma, there will be a karma phal. Then there's another branch, and then another branch, and then the fruit will come, and then fruit will have seed, and then another tree will come. It's like rebirth cycle. You keep doing that. Adi Guru Shankaracharya says in Bhaj Govindam, Punarapi Jananam, Puranapi Mananam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Shainam, Ihi sansare bahudustare, krapya pare pahi murare, bhaj govindam. And he's saying, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. You are born again and again. Punarapi janani, jathare shayanam. Janani means mata, and jathar means womb. You'll come in womb again. And that's what he's praying to the He sansare bahudustare. This sansar, bahudustare means very complicated, this sansar is. There is suffering. We all know that sansar is suffering. So he says that, take me out of this. And all our teaching is basically teaching us. That's what Bhagavan is teaching here, how to come out of this. And we saw in the last shlok. So the sansar is chakra, golmal. And okay, there's a little lighter note. There is a movie, Golmaal, very famous, that movie of that Kalakar. What is his
Amol
name?
Palekar. Amol Palekar.
Amol Palekar, yeah. So that was a wonderful movie. In that movie, there is a song. It's a title song. गोलमाल है भाई सब गोलमाल है, सीधे रस्ते हर सीधे रस्ते की एक टेढ़ी ही चाल है, गोलमाल है भाई सब गोलमाल है. And he says, very it describes the entire संसार. भूख रोटी की हो तो पैसा कमाइए, पैसा कमाने के लिए फिर पैसा चाहिए, मांगे से ना मिले तो पसीना बहाइए, बहता है पसीना तो रुमाल चाहिए, रुमाल के लिए फिर कपड़ा चाहिए, कपड़ा किसी ने दान में ही दे दिया चलो, दर्जी के पास जाके वो पहले सिलाइए, बिन सिली कमीज पे तो कुछ नहीं लिया, सिली हुई कमीज की सिलाई चाहिए, और सिलाई के लिए फिर पैसा चाहिए, और पैसा कमाने के लिए फिर पैसा चाहिए, गोलमाल है भाई सबको. दैट्स टाइटल सॉन्ग, गुजरात, गुलजार ने लिखा, वंडरफुल. He describes the whole life. Just it's a circle. गोलमाल है भाई, गोलमाल है, पैसा कमाने के लिए चलता रहेगा. And that's what Bhagavan is saying. The sansar is chakra. Somewhere you have to stop. Otherwise, you will keep coming, keep suffering. And all the faith, not only Hindu, every tradition has the same teaching. Come out of this. What the way Bhagavan has given in Bhagavad Gita, it is one of the best way to come out of this. So we'll go to that third shlok. We'll just recap, and because there is a term used, Vairāgya, and that is one of the best terms we can get from Vedanta Shastra, Vairāgya. And Bhagavan has already said that in the 6th chapter when Arjuna asked that, Chanchalahi Mano Krishna, Vayur iv Sudushkaram. It is so chanchal, so mobile that like Vayu, I cannot control it. So what is the solution? And Bhagavan gave just 2 words, Abhyasen to Vairāgya. Only two ways you can abhyas Vairāgya. And we'll see what Vairāgya is. This chapter is like, he's talking about that Vairāgya and abhyas, but we have to keep doing. A lot of people have this confusion. And we can see some commentaries that abhyas, Vairāgya ka abhyas karna. You cannot do abhyas of Vairāgya. Vairāgya is sprouting from that abhyas of nididhyasana, we say, Shravanam Manam nididhyasana. You can't just say, I'm a Vairāgi. You become Vairāgi. And typically when we say Vairāgi means we think of sadhu, sannyasi, or some monk. No. Who's asking? Arjuna is asking, who's a Vairāgi, right? Who's a grahast? To whom? Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna. Who's also a grahast? A grahast is asking a grahast that, how do we do this? How do we get the Vairāgya? And Bhagavan is explaining. So it has nothing to do with that sannyasi. It is a state of mind or a character which can be anyone. It doesn't have to. Yeah, of course, if you take sannyas, there is a definitely condition that you have to have the Vairāgya. But Vairāgya, anybody can get it. And how do we get Vairāgya? We'll see in this chapter, right? But simple answer, Bhagavan said, abhyas. Abhyas of what? Abhyas of study, whatever we do, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. And do dhyan. Dhyan will assimilate the teaching. Unless the teaching is assimilated, you get the benefit. Don't get the benefit. Same as like medicine. I can have prescription, best prescription. I can take the medicine, but there are always some instruction given along with the medicine that don't eat this. I have a diarrhea. I go and take the medicine of diarrhea and keep eating samosa. It's not going to solve the problem. If I eat a lot of proteins or whatever things healthy, at the same time I am not maintaining the good habits, protein or fruits or dry fruits is not going to do anything. So same thing here. So it is the gyan will be assimilated when we do nididhyasanam constantly, and that is called abhyas. Abhyas every day. That's why we hear. I mean, I'm a big promoter of Sandhya Vandanam. 3 times at least we should do whatever we do. It is not one method, but 3 times, 4 times during the day. Do dhyan. Contemplate on the teaching. That's why when I take children classes, and I always say that memorization is good, but unless you understand, I mean, okay, early age you can't understand, maybe 4 or 5 years old, but when you become 7, 8, 10-year-old kids, these kids are smart. I mean, every kid is smart at this age. They should comprehend the meaning of whatever we teach, our spiritual teaching I'm talking about. Then it becomes part of my character. And that's what Bhagavan is saying. That is abhyas. So we'll see. So let's just recap third shlok, and then we move forward with the remaining parts. So third shlok of 15th chapter, which is Purushottam Yoga. And so Purushottam Yoga, it is called, as I said in the beginning, Bhagavan, in this chapter, Bhagavan is going to talk about sansar, which is Jagat. Then Bhagavan is going to talk about Jeev, which is us. And then Bhagavan at the end is talk about the Paramatma, Jagdish. So Jagat, Jeev and Jagdish, these 3 things. Entire Bhagavad Gita, some or other way, Bhagavan is talking this, right? But in this chapter, he is very specific. So Sansar, then us, and then Purushottam. Because the goal is to, and that's what we do in our dhyan. Panchatattva dhyan, we are taking away our consciousness, our mind from these senses and this sansar towards the Sakshi Chaitan, which is my Swarup, which is Paramatma, basically. So that's what this chapter is. So we'll see at the end, Bhagavan is asking us to go towards Paramatma, which is Purushottam. So let's just quickly recap Shlok 3 and we'll move to 4. Na rupamasseha tatholabhadye tatopalabhadye nanto nachardin chacha sampratishtha ashwattamenam suvirdamulam asanga shastrena dradena chitva. So Bhagavan is saying, इस संसार वृक्ष का स्वरूप जैसा कहा है, ऐसा नहीं पाया जाता है, न तो इसका आदि है, न अंत है, और न ही अच्छी प्रकार से स्थिति है. You can read in English part.
Its form is not perceived here as such, neither its end, nor origin, nor clear foundation. Having cut asunder this firmly rooted Aswatha giant fig tree with the strong axe of non-attachment.
Yeah, so Bhagavan is saying, he's clarifying, it's a metaphor. He's saying, you won't find a tree like you, uski root is up somewhere up and then tree is down. Bhagavan is saying, I'm giving you an example that the sansar, the purpose root up is, we have to go up. And we'll see at the end of the chapter that the goal is to go to the root. And that's the whole goal. We call it moksha, we call it nirvana, we call it various words, we say that, anand, satchidanand. But that is all in the root, because Bhagavan is the root. And we call it awareness. Buddha call is, or Mahavir, Bhagavan Mahavir, they used to call it awareness. Same thing. Bhagavan now, though, awareness though, but it is all up. And this is, so we have to cut the tree, don't expand the sansar, and the goal is to go to the root. Vinobaji has said it very well, actually. There is a term used in our Vedanta, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So same thing, Shankaracharya is saying this whole Jagat, this sansar is Mithya, this tree is not there. It is all imperishable tree. And then we all know that we are all perishable, our body is perishable, our possessions are perishable. Everything is to go. And when it will go, nobody knows. It can go tomorrow. There is some flood, there is some fire, there is some accident, it's gone. So impermanent. And we think we hold on to that. So Shankaracharya says that Jagat Mithya Brahma Satyam. So goal is to realize the Brahman as soon as possible. Because you don't know when the end is coming. But Vinobaji has modified that very, very well. Vinobaji is also like Shankaracharya. And he says, Brahma Satya Jagat is Puranam and Jivan Satya Shodhanam. Very nice. He says, correct, Brahma Satya, Brahma is everything, origin. That is truth. Jagat is Puranam. Instead of Jagat Mithya, he said Jagat Sfuranam. Sfuranam means sprouting. And that's what Bhagwan is saying here, Udumulam. So Vinobaji says Jagat is sprouting from Bhagwan, from Satya, basically. Bhagwan means Satya. And then he says, he added one line, which which Adi Guru Shankaracharya didn't. He said, Jivan Satya Shodhanam. The life is to, Shodhan means search, which will come next slok. Inquiry, finding what is truth, the reality, that is sadhan, that is dhyan. And he says, Jivan Satya, entire Jivan is given for Satya Shodhanam. Shodhanam means the search or the inquiry or the research or various words used, but Shodhanam. And that is, Jivan is given for that, to find out Satya. That's it. So that's what Bhagwan also wants to say here. But he says, Asanga Shastrena Dadayana Chitva. The only way to cut this tree is Asanga Shastrena. Or Asanga means non-attachment, which can be called, actually called Vairāgya. And that is the Shastra. That is a weapon. So Vairāgya is the only weapon which can help us cut this growing sansar tree. And we all know that, right? The attachment we have with things, how bad we feel when these things go. But as we develop that, and this is all an individual have to experience, as we mature in letting things go, you find it is light, travel light. Life becomes easy, right? But more baggage we have, more we suffer. Because it's all impermanent. And that's what Bhagwan is saying. So next slok, he continues. What happens after, once you started experiencing that Vairāgya? See, this is a very, very beautiful way Shastra has put that we have to experience that Vairāgya. And Vairāgya will not like, I'll get something additional, 2 hands or 4 legs, nothing like that. Vairāgya is that feeling. And then we can say, we had talked about, right? Our problem is, the human being's problem is our Vedanta, according to spiritual teaching. We are Purna, but I feel that I am not Purna. The inadequacy is the weakness. So Vairāgya give me the feeling I'm adequate. And the same thing we said, right? If I don't have this thing, it's okay. So what? Not everybody has. That's why we are taught by our grandparents and parents that not everybody has everything. Like we go to school or something. It's okay. So we have to rise with that. But that has to be, like, again, that has to be practiced again and again, that maturity has to come. So that's what. So once Bhagwan says, when the maturity has come, what is next step? That is in the 4th slok. Tataha padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin
Gatavyam
yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyaha
Yasmin Natana Nirvatanti Bhuyaha
tameva chadyam purusham prapadde
Tameva Chatyam Purusham Prapate
yatah pravrittihi prasata purani.
Yatah Pravritti Prasuta Purani. उसके पश्चात उस परम पद रूप परमेश्वर को भली भांति खोजना चाहिए, जिसमें गए हुए पुरुष फिर लौटकर संसार में नहीं आते, और जिस परमेश्वर से इस पुरातन संसार वृक्ष की प्रवृत्ति विस्तार को प्राप्त हुई है, उसी आदि पुरुष नारायण के मैं शरण हूँ। इस प्रकार दृढ़ निश्चय करके उस परमेश्वर का मनन और निधि ध्यासन करना चाहिए।
Then the goal should be sought, whither having gone they do not return again. I seek refuge in that primeval Purusa, supreme being, alone, wherefrom stemmed forth ancient activity.
Yeah. So ancient, all this teaching is ancient. So one thing we need to write is coming. So we already talked about. So Bhagwan is saying Tataha. Now, once you had that feeling of Vairāgya, so it is like, that's why we say sadhana is also cyclic. We'll reach. Someday we'll reach, and then we'll be out of that, we'll take the exit and done. But till then, we have to keep driving on that tollway. So when the exit will come, nobody knows. Any day you will feel I'm done. So done means you're not quitting the world. Jivan Mukt. The better word for moksha is Jivan Mukt. Jivan Mukt, I'll still be living in this world, but the Vairāgya, and the example my Acharya Guruji always gives, which is a very nice example, like playoff and regular season. When the regular season you're playing 16 games, or any like football or cricket or maybe the semi-final. Once you are in regular season, you have to win all the games because you want to be in the playoff. So once you are in playoff, and we have seen many times that some teams, the clinch playoff, you have won all 12 games, you clinch the playoff. Now next 2 games are just, you don't have to win. Even if you lose, you are already clinched the playoff because you won a certain number of games. Then they play secondary players and they're enjoying the game because there is nothing to lose, nothing to win. So it's like that. So Vairāgya is like that. There is nothing to lose, nothing to win. And so I'm enjoying the game. Like they enjoy because you are already clinched you already got the place in the playoff, right? That's what, so Bhagavan is saying that once that you have reached that Vairāgya, next what you do. So Bhagavan says Tataha. Tataha means after that. And in fact, our teaching, like for example, Yog Shustra of Patanjali, it starts with Atato. Ataha means that. Ataha means Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now let's start the Brahma Jigyasa or Yoga Anusachanam. Let's learn the Yoga now. But you got it now. So after Vairāgya, do this, Bhagavan is saying. Till then, but we have to keep practicing. It is not, we don't know which day the Vairāgya has come. So Bhagavan is saying, then the word used Parimargatavyam. Parimargatavyam, as I said, it is Satya Shodhanam, inquiry, search, deep dive. And that's why Vinobaji said, Jivan Satya Shodhanam. Every activity of life, that's what Vinobaji actually did that. All his life, he said, whatever I'm doing, it is just Satya Shodhanam. Freedom movement has come. I'm part of the freedom movement. He was the greatest freedom fighter. But he says, my goal is not just freedom fighter. My goal is Satya Shodhanam. I find the reality or truth in everything. If that was not freedom movement, he would have done something same in a different way. Satya Shodhanam. So Parimargitavyam means you have to do inquiry, like what we are doing. So Adhyaya, we do the same thing. What we are doing, we are studying Bhagavad Gita, doing Chintan. I'm sure after this class, the things stay in our mind and we say, let me go back to see it. I do all the time. Then we go back to the shlok again, see what Bhagavan is saying. Oh, then we go to that another shlok and see, oh, that time, see, that is all inquiry. And that is all study, Swadhyaya. That's what we are doing. So Bhagavan says, do that. For what? At the end, he says, Adyam Purusham Prapadde. The goal is that Parameshwar, we'll see Purushottam, that's what Bhagavan says. That is the goal. That is Satya. The goal is Satya, not activities. All these activities are done that so I can realize the Satya. And Satya realization of truth is all within. I mean, nothing outside happens. Bhagavan is, we all, and I always, like my own thinking, and I believe that Murti or Mandir or all these props, they're props. And it doesn't look nice to say prop to Murti, but since we are in the class, it's a prop. Through Murti, I have to reach Bhagavan. Murti is not Bhagavan. Murti is a source to go to Bhagavan. Same all puja, mala, whatever we do that. Bhagavad Gita is a source to go to Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is not Krishna, but it is a source to go to reach Sri Krishna. And that's what Bhagavan is saying. See, this is all Puratan. It's all coming on, this ancient teaching us coming from long time, but the goal is Adyam Purusham, Adi Purush. Adi Purush is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is saying, so after getting the glimpse of Vairāgya, so Vairāgya and then do Vichar. Vichar means then inquiry, we talked about, but Sharanagati. See, like at the last slok, Arjuna said that Bhagavan, Nashto moha smrti labdha tat prasadat maya achyut. My doubts are gone. Stitosmi. I know who am I now. But the krapa is yours. It is all because of you. Tat prasadat maya achyut. And that is Sharanagati. So I always say Sharanagati is not surrendering. I mean, very word is loosely translated. It's a love, it's affection, both ways. I love Bhagavan, Bhagavan loves me. And there's a respect from both sides. That's what Bhagavan said in the 10th chapter when he was describing Vibhuti. Vrashninam Vasudevasmi and Pandavanam Dhananjay. So we are both same, Arjun, same level, same divinity in both of us. And he's teaching and he's saying that. That's what, so that is Sharanagati. So that shlok. So this shlok Bhagavan says, next step. Ab kya karna? And then we next shlok Bhagavan is going to describe the qualities of this Vairāgya. And see again, we all go to schools, right? And there is a value system taught in schools. These days it is less, but they are thinking that we should have more teaching of value system. We all know that, right? Value system is taught to us many times, like same value will be repeated, stories will be given. Someday it will register. That's why every day we do same prarthana. Like, महामंत्र है ये जपा कर और जिसने राग द्वेष काम आदि जीते सब every day. But every day when I do that, it becomes part of me. So that's what हमारे यहाँ there is a we call it पाठ, रामायण का पाठ, भगवद गीता का पाठ. पाठ means not just पढ़ना. The shabd is coming from padhana. Padhana has come from part, Sanskrit. Part means going deeper into those words. I mean, of course, we have to memorize and chant. There is a time to chant. But if I am not getting the message behind the chant, then I don't inculcate value in my life. And that's what, so Bhagavan is giving those values, which is the value, the attributes of Vairāgya. And we should see that I'm getting those or not. If not, then yeah, go back to doctor again. So I'm not feeling well. After a week, you told me come after 2 weeks. I'm here. Not feeling well. Okay, let's change the prescription. Do something we either doctor or you both are not doing right. But in this case, teaching is right. So let's not doubt now. We can doubt some doctor, we can go to specialist, but this is a perfect teaching. So the teaching, there is no doubt. I think I am not doing something right. So that's what Bhagavan is giving those attributes, like 5th shlok. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha.
Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha.
Adhyatma nitya vinivratta kama.
Adhyatma nitya vinivrat kamaha.
Dvander vimukta sukha dukkha sangyehi.
Vande vimukta sukha dukkha sangye.
Gacchanta mūಢāः padamam avyayam tat.
Gacchantya mūಢā padamamyam tata. जिसका मान और मोह नष्ट हो गया है, जिन्होंने आसक्ति रूप दोष को जीत लिया है, जिनकी परमात्मा के स्वरूप में नित्य स्थिति है और जिनकी कामनाएं संपूर्ण रूप से नष्ट हो गई हैं, वे सुख दुख नामक द्वंद्वों से विमुक्त ज्ञानी जन उस अविनाशी परम पद को प्राप्त होते हैं.
Freed from pride and delusion, evils of attachment conquered, ever rooted in self, desires having completely gone, well liberated from the pairs of opposites like joy and sorrow, the undeluded reach that eternal goal.
So all these qualities, like we say, nirmana moha, nirmana and nirmoha, ni has to be supplied both sides. Man means like pride, or we call it like, the identification, right? So nirman, I mean, I've done that, but I don't take the pride in that. It is happening through me. Simple as that. Moha, attachment. Attachment is Bhagavan ko bada priya. He brings again and again. Nirmoha. That moha means again attachment, then clinging. That should not be there. And these are the result of Vairāgya. He is giving after. Once you have the Vairāgya, you can see these qualities. Jit Sanga dosha. Again, Sang and Moh, they go together. It's a dosh. Dosh in Ayurveda, dosh means disease, right? When you go to Ayurveda doctor, they say dosh means disease. So Bhagavan is saying Sang is a dosh. Jit it. Means you have to win that. हमारी जैन परंपरा तो इस वर्ड से ही आई है, जित से जिन परंपरा, जैन परंपरा आई है. The whole name has come from Jit. जिसने जीत लिया वो जैन. That's what the whole parampara is. So Jita Sanga dosha. Sanga dosh, you have to win over that, right? And Vairāgya has won over that. That's what Bhagavan is saying. Adhyatma Nitya, which we Paramatma mein constantly, Adhyatma is Atma. So I am always established in Atma. And that feeling that I am all the time, that I am that awareness. And it is like that, the example given in our Shastra, the wave. Ocean wave example is very good actually. So waves are many. There is smaller wave, big wave, and some wave will be maybe for 10 minutes, some wave could be die in 1 minute. So, but it is wave is a form and shape, form in like Naam Roop we can say that. It's a form and it's a name and a form. So we call it wave and there is a form, big, small, and but ultimately, if you analyze the wave is gone, it's all water. It's all water. Wave is name and form we have given because we see that. Same thing pot. The example given in the clay is the source, but the pot is a clay pot. So pot may not be there, but clay will be there. Exactly same example we apply on us. And we have talked number of times, like the content of consciousness is consciousness. Like I see, I'm in Gita class sitting here. I see Shripalji is here, Naveen Bhai. In my consciousness, all these images are there. In consciousness, all this, what is happening is there. That's the content of consciousness. And that is mind's role. So mind is playing that. And that's what when we do dhyan, we say that drop these things. When the consciousness is, all these things like taken away from consciousness, then what remains is awareness. Because the awareness was aware of all these things. And that awareness is my nature. So what Bhagavan is saying here, Adhyatma Nityam is you're always aware that I am that Satchidanand Atma. Yeah, I'll do this all sansar work, everything, I'll be disturbed also. And in fact, they say that the day you are going to be able to observe the deficiencies of your own, not with the guilt, with that awareness, you are getting that into that mode. Suppose, and the example, I get angry. The day I get that capacity to, yeah, I may get angry. I'm a human being. I have Rajogun also. Rajogun is there. I mean, it's not gone completely. But Sattvagun is higher. And Sattvagun hold your hand. Hold on. The anger is coming. And I say, okay, the anger is coming. And then I maybe take a deep breath or do something which, but I'm able to observe my anger. That is Adhyatma Nitya. That is, I know that I am that awareness. Anger is my vikar. We call it vikar. Or related to the body, it's a deficiency. I'm not the body. Anger is related to mind also. I'm not this mind. I'm that awareness. And that's what Bhagavan is saying, that all the time, that awareness. And vinivritti kama, all the desires. Kamana, number of times Bhagavan repeat. Sukha dukkha sange. Again, same thing. You have the equanimity, the whole shlok given in second chapter, right? Samatvam yoga uchyate. Tulya stutirmoni. Many times Bhagavan is used. Equanimity in all situations. Sukha dukh. It's okay. Sukh is coming, dukh is coming. That's fine. I accept it. That is, and dvandva means the duality. And because it's all duality, sukha, dukha, the whole sansar is duality. And Bhagavan says, vimukta means you are overcome the duality. And amuda. Muda means, of course, ignorance. Amuda means the jnani. All these attributes are there. These are the product of a Vairāgya. A Vairāgya's qualities. Then avinashi parampad gachanti. Avyayam. Avyayam is which once I realize that, that's what we call all our Santa Mahatma. We have heard the stories, if you read those books, that some age, like Buddha, one day Buddha got enlightenment. Then he is always enlightened. हम लोग इधर नहीं कि वो आज ठीक होता है गीता क्लास चला फिर सुबह वापस पहुंच जाते हैं वो हो गया. It is like that. I learned swimming and I learned swimming for the rest of my life. I don't have to learn swimming twice. I learned bike. That's what Bhagavan is saying. यहाँ कह रहे हैं, once you realize that अव्ययम पदम, एक बार वो भगवान के दर्शन हो गए अंदर से, that is like that. You never forget. मैं अभी somewhere I was reading there were some people, those who had dementia or Alzheimer, they can still swim. I mean, and they say that they don't take the risk. I'm sure if you know more than Chitu, but I was reading somewhere that some of those patients can still swim if they know swimming earlier, because that's maybe motor memory, wherever. But so it's like this. Ek baar Bhagwan is with this attributes and with this Vairāgya, ek baar Bhagwan dikh gaye, that is permanent. That is the Anand in it. That's what we call it, Satchidanand. So that's what Bhagavan says. Gacchanti means you reach that. Once you reach, you're all safe. And what happens when you reach? It's like the description of that place where you reach. Not place means nowhere else. It's on my consciousness. It's like that. Instead of having this whole worldly object in my consciousness, वो अटैची हम लोगों की जो सामान लेके जाते हैं, तो उसमें sometimes it happens like when we go to, suppose we go to Dallas sometime, and Ramita said कि वो वहां से कुछ सामान लेके आना है, ज्ञान ज्ञान से खाली अटैची, तो एक खाली अटैची लेके जा सामान लेके आएंगे. So I know that this attache has nothing. I'm taking this just to bring something from there, so that there is no content in that attache. I still know that. So same thing, if we remove all this content to dunya ka hai, and if we get the Vairāgya, then Bhagwan will be that Satya, or whatever we call it, Bhagwan, Anand, Krishna, Ram, doesn't matter. My Guruji used to give the example कि कृष्ण को माखन चोर इसलिए नहीं बोलते हैं, ये all these stories have no meaning. I mean, that's okay for to childhood level is fine कि कृष्ण माखन चोर है, but बड़े लोगों के लिए that story is not, Krishna is not माखन चोर, right? वो तो that was an example given for little kid, right? He used to say he's माखन चोर in the sense he's saying कि when you churn your consciousness, like when we churn the milk, the makhan comes up. And then when the makhan comes up, the Krishna comes. मैं तो मक्खन ही खाता हूँ. So that's what he's saying, you churn your consciousness. And when that Shanti will come, there's all these objects are gone from your consciousness. Just the awareness remains. The pure awareness, I'll come. आप खुद घुस जाएंगे भगवान. And that is called Avinashi Parampara. So we'll see the next shlok will cover. Bhagwan says what happens when you reach to that state. न तद्भासते सूर्यः
तद्भासते सूर्यो
न शशांको न पावकः
न शशांको न पावकः
यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते
यद्गत्वा न निर्वर्तन्ते
तद्धामं परमं मम.
तद्धाम परमं मम. जिस परम पद को प्राप्त होकर मनुष्य लौटकर संसार में नहीं आते, उस स्वयं प्रकाश परम पद को न सूर्य प्रकाशित कर सकता है, न चंद्रमा और न अग्नि ही. वही मेरा परम धाम है.
That the sun illumines not, nor moon, nor fire, whither having gone, they return not. That is my supreme abode.
So he's giving the example, metaphor again. Bhagavan is full of metaphor. He says that place is self-illumined. We think the sun will illumine things, right? Or moon is getting from sun, but there is moonlight also. When Purnima day you see the moonlight. Of course, it's reflected light, but it's still moonlight. So you need some light. But Bhagavan says this place where you reach, when you reach the place where Bhagavan said that with that attributes and Vairāgya, there is no Surya required. It is self-illumined. There is no Chandrama required. And what bottom line is that all this sadhana we do, like Gayatri Jap and whatever Jap or Tyag or Yagya, and the goal is to reach to that. Once you reach there, everything is dropped. Props are dropped. You don't need that, right? And Bhagavan says, na nivartante. You don't come to this sansara. There are two meanings we can take from here. One is punarjan. If you don't get the punarjan, you'll get the moksha. Okay, you don't come to, because janma is suffering. देह धरे को दंड है सबका है होए, ज्ञानी भुगते ज्ञान से मूर्ख भुगते रोए. कबीरदास जी कहें देह धरे को दंड है. देह मिली, there is a dand. I mean, this is a punishment because you got this body. Nobody in this world, that's what we say, that nobody in this world is completely happy. Like Swamiji bolte bhi hain. See, if you write this sentence, I think I forget, somewhere I read some Swamiji said the statement, nobody is completely happy in the world. We all the time say that nobody is completely happy. He said it is possible if you put that nobody means as long as you are somebody, you are unhappy. When you are nobody, you are completely happy in this world. So nobody, you are Vairāgya. You don't know, this world is out of you. Then you become nobody. Nobody is completely happy. Yeah, so Vairāgya is completely happy. That's the logic. But as long as you are with something, you are a body, then you are not happy. So Bhagavan is saying that is Paramdham. Nivartante, there are, one is like Punarjan. For a minute, let's not think of Punarjan. But in this sansar itself, when you're living, you can live happily, Jivan Mukt. So there are two ways we can think that. I mean, nobody has come back and said that this is my Punarjanma, and I, very few, like Buddha and some Mahatma can say, but ordinary people like us cannot say that, oh, this is my second Janma, I'm enjoying. So let's enjoy whatever current it is possible with Vairāgya. पीछे संसार में नहीं आएंगे तो किसी ने पता नहीं देखा नहीं, लेकिन अभी तो I can think today I can be happy. In this life I can be Jivan Mukt. But Vairāgya provides that. And that's what you reach. And Bhagavan says the metaphor is given, Surya and Chandrama is not needed, even Agni not needed, because it's self-illumined. And we all know that, right? There's the Shlok 55 Shlok of second chapter where Bhagavan says Sthit Pragya. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanobhatan atmanev atmanatushta. This person is happy within himself or herself, by himself or herself. Atmanev atmanatushta. By yourself. You don't need any outside help to be happy. Vairāgya. And the reason, because there is another good definition of Vairāgya. Most of us live, we already talked about, and I love that many times we talked about, we live either in the past or future. So Rag and Dvesh, when we say Rag, they come together. So Rag or Dvesh are always either in the past or future. I want something in the future, that is Rag. I didn't wanted that in the past, that is Dvesh. If I'm in present moment, हम लोग जब ध्यान करते हैं, करके देखिए, like sometime we get glimpse for 2-3 minutes. That time there is no Rag Dvesh. And that is the state where we are in Vairāgya. If we can have that state longer, 24 hours, Jivan Mukt, that is Vairāgya. So Vairāgya is not कि कपड़े बदलने वाला. That's also required, because those people have to change the sannyasi is given that. Because we have our parampara, sannyasi has to perform his or our own daha sanskar. And we call it Dvij, second born. That's before sannyas, you have to perform your last rites. You're gone. So you're a different person. So all the memory of past is gone. And since you don't possess anything, there is no future for you. That's why these sannyasis, they don't possess, they don't keep anything. Even sometimes they're barefoot or minimum requirement. Minimum for living, but there is no future for them. And the past is gone because you perform your last rites. That's why they give another name. Vivekananda, or some name they also change, right? The reason is because the historical self is gone. We are all historical self. We are all historical. We'll create history, or we live in the history, historical self. So Bhagavan says that is actually samsara chakra. So you have to come out of that, and that is that Bhagavan is a tat dhamam paramam mama. That dham, that abode, that place, that is my place. I mean, वही हम लोग भगवान बोलते हैं, भगवान स्वर्ग में, there is no स्वर्ग, but that feeling of that joy, the fulfillment, I am adequate, that is swarg, nothing else. And Bhagavan says, so anyway, we'll stop here. So I just want to read one very nice, the whole thing started with Vairāgya. And once we have the Vairāgya, everything is possible, what Bhagavan says in Shlok number 5 and 6. You can read the Shlok later on in detail, but whatever told in 5 and 6 are a result of Vairāgya. So there was a King Bhartari. He was in Ujjain, not too old. It's like Vikramaditya. He was Vikramaditya's brother. So it's not thousands of years old, 2,500-year-old story, right? And it's a true thing. So even now in Ujjain, Bhartari Gufa, I have seen many times. There are caves of Bhartari. Bhartari was a king, but he started living in the cave, and he became a big sannyasi. He wrote many books. So one of the book he wrote is Vairāgya Shatkam, 100 shlok on Vairāgya. Very powerful. I mean, I read sometimes, very, very powerful description of Vairāgya. 100 shlok just on Vairāgya. Because he was a king and he took Vairāgya. And there is a story very quickly, I think I shared one time. The story was from somewhere he got some unique gift from some other country where he went. And he wanted to get that gift to his beloved person in this kingdom. So he gave that gift to that beloved person. And somehow after few months, or that somebody gave that gift to him, one of the assistant or someone who was working. He said, from where you got this gift? I gave it to one of my beloved. He said, no, that person gave to another beloved, it came to him. And he said, wow, I used to think I got this unique gift from my beloved. That beloved has another beloved. That beloved has another beloved. And then he got that Vairāgya. He left the kingdom. He said, this has no meaning. कोई किसी को नहीं चाहता है, सब अपने आप को चाहते हैं. That's what our Shastra also says. So that's why he got Vairāgya. And then he wrote Vairāgya Shatkam. So I'll read few lines from that and then we'll stop. But this is a wonderful definition of Vairāgya. He says, Bhogo Rogam Bhayam. So bhog karte hain, when we enjoy the bhog or whatever, there is a rog ka dar laga rehta hai. If I am overindulged in eating or drinking anywhere, I am always have a fear that I'll get sick. We all know that, right? Kule chuti bhayam. When there is a parivar, there is always a fear of losing family members, family or whatever possessions. Vitte napalad bhayam. When you have money, your fear of Napal means Raja. That time is jo tax leta hai. So I have money, I have fear of the government will tax. अरे वो आरएमडी की बहुत प्रॉब्लम रहती है रिटायर्ड लोगों, वो परेशान ही रहते हैं कि अभी टैक्स में चला जाएगा, कुछ करो आरएमडी का. So we have money, we are fearful of tax. He's saying 25 years ago, right? Mane danya bhayam. When I get the praise, there's a fear that praise will go away. Or sometime if people used to praise me, now they don't praise me. That the factor of that ego comes. That is bhayam. That bale ripu bhayam. When if you are strong, your fear of always enemy. America is so fearful of Russia. We want more F-16. We want this. And then China is more, because you're powerful, you're fear of another imagination of the enemy. You're always in fear. America is, we all live in America. Like America lives in fear of like the war. Rupe jaraya bhayam. When you have Roop, the beauty, there is a feeling of I'm getting old. The kaye katantam bhayam. Body has a fear of death. Katantam is bhaya of death. We are all, when there is a body always. And the last he said, Vairāgyam ev abhayam. Vairāgya is the only abhayam. Rest everything what he describes is a sansar. There is always a fear of something. Paisa hai to bhi dar hai. Like you're the most powerful country, then you still have fear. The only way, Vairāgyam ev abhayam. There is only definition of fearlessness is Vairāgya. So once you have the Vairāgya, you are fearless. The 4-5 thick shlok, actually Bhartari has the same thing. I mean, wisdom has no boundaries. Wisdom doesn't belong to one person. Bhartari has the same wisdom which Bhagwan Krishna has. Bhagwan Krishna is saying this wisdom, I got it from other rishis. So wisdom has nothing to do with one person, but it confirms that all these wise people are saying the same thing. And that's why we need to follow. And so we'll stop here. We'll do our quick same yatra from Sansara to Sakshi Chaitanya. And then we'll continue. Next week is Thanksgiving, so we'll not meet. We'll meet after Thanksgiving. Right? So again, we'll say just the shlok of Satsangatve nissangatvam. How do we get the Vairāgya? Very simple formula Bhagavan Shankaracharya given. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve niramohatvam, niramohatve nischaltatvam, nischalatatve jivana mukti. Satsangatve. Satsang is one of the best way to get to that Vairāgya. Nissangatvam. Satsang karte hain to nissangatvam, the sangati will go away, which Bhagavan talked about, that attachment. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. When the asangati has come, the attachment goes, the delusion is gone. That foggy, Judge Arjuna had the problem. And nischal tatve jivana mukti. And then once you the more nirmohatva, when the more is gone, you're able to see the reality, nischal tatve. I see the truth as truth. But if I am deluded, I don't see the truth as truth. Vinobaji is saying, Jivan Satya Shodhanam. If we have the Sattvic Jivan, then only Satya Shodhan will happen. Otherwise, I'll not see truth as truth. And Nishchal Tattva Jivan Mukti. Once I see this truth as it is Jivan Mukti. Then Ananda hi Ananda. That is the Parinama. So we'll do quick over Dhyan, and then next week we'll not meet, but we'll meet after that. Same again, our Panch Tattva Dhyan from Sansar to Param Dhamam. Bhagavan has already said, right? And we now we know more technical. The moment my mind is free from the past and future, it is in Vairāgya. And that Vairāgya Shanti, and that Shanti is awareness. And that is Dhyan. To keep the focus on the tip of the nostril and bring image of Prithvi Tattva. Again, we have to think that Prithvi, everything is Bhagavan's manifestation, right? Now shift focus to the tip of the tongue and think of Jal Tattva, bring image of Jal Tattva. This is Varuna Devta, it's Bhagavan's manifestation. Now shift focus to the eyes and bring up image of Agni Tattva, it's Surya Bhagavan. Now shift focus to the skin and feel. We cannot think, we cannot touch, we cannot feel, but we can feel Vayu on the skin. So keep the focus on the skin and feel Vayu around. Shift focus to the ear and feel the space. How do you feel the space? I hear the sound, and sound travel in space. So that's what I know. There is a space around me, the space inside me. All these elements are inside me also. They are all outside. And that's where there's a harmony between me and this entire universe. They're not separate. We are all just one. Now Bhagavan says to Arjun, after this, you are not these. So I am not these outside world, but Panch Tattva. I am not Panch Indriya, the senses which through I interact with these 5 elements. I am not the man behind this. And at this state, when the senses are quietened, we can see that the mind is free of thoughts. There is no future, there is no past. In this state, they say observe the observer or observed, but I can see the mind also. But who is seeing the mind? That is awareness. And we saw that when all the names and forms are gone, the waves are gone, it remains water. The pot is broken, the clay remains. When the thoughts are gone, the awareness remains. And Bhagavan says, Yukta Asita Matpara. That is my Param Dham. And Arjun stay in that state as long as possible. And that's why our Rishi says, Tattvamasi. In that state, you are that. That's Satya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Boli Krishna Kanhaiya Lal ki jai. Hari Om. Thanks. Yeah, we'll meet next week. We'll not meet, but then we'll meet week after. Yeah, so
Very
you
nice.
can, yeah,
Yeah.
right. You can continue
Thank
reading
you.
those Shlok. Yeah, wonderful Shlok. Yeah.
Krishna, everyone.
Dhanyavad, dhanyavad. Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving
you.
also.
Thank
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Thank
Jai
you.
Shri Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Krishna, Jai Shri.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank you,
Krishna.
Sanjay ji. Thank you.
Yeah, नमस्ते, नमस्ते। तो भाई तो आनंद में ही है। I'll call you एक दिन चित भाई दिन आप फ्लोरिडा में अभी कोलंबस में
नहीं अभी
Columbus.
कोलंबस.
Okay, I'll call you maybe Thanksgiving weekend time.
Yeah, please do. Please
ठीक,
do. Please do.
ठीक। Okay, नमस्ते, हरि ओम, जय श्री कृष्ण।